Okay, so hello everyone. Oh my god, so much to speak again and again. When this FIFA World Cup started, I did not expect that Messi would be such a great player. And right now it's one day to go for the finals, and there is all the chances for Messi cementing his legacy that he is going to win and he's going to be the greatest of all time. When I was thinking about it, I was just thinking that, you know, Messi has showed the world what greatness is. And we are so lucky that we are going to, in the same month of July, going to watch the greatest of all time, probably, arguably, in the history of cinema, Christopher Nolan with the movie Odyssey. Now, cinema is an art form and there is no greatest in there. It is very subjective. And I also don't think that he is the greatest of all time, because Stanley Kubrick is. And in modern era, I feel it's Paul Thomas Anderson. But his devotion, his dedication, his focus to the art of filmmaking, you can easily see that in his films, and that is just beautiful. There is so many in the movie Odyssey, there are so many subtle things. There are so many small details. There's just, it's just inexplicable. So many things. Let's start with whatever I can remember. There is a scene in which Christopher Nolan has this habit of of putting a plot point at the start of the movie and then using it as a beautiful twist or turn. So this thing happens with the character of Elliot Page, that we find out that Robert Pattinson tried to escape from the war and he put Elliot Page there. So that kind of cowardice in those era is what we see as a beautiful twist. It's beautiful. The other beautiful thing that is seen is that the king who wages a war on the city of Troy, he sacrifices his own daughter for the winds, for the favorable winds. And we see that means like a normal human being. When I was watching that movie, I thought that this is the end of this plot point, that he sacrificed his daughter. But we see a culmination of that in the next in the next hour of the movie, that he will face consequences for doing that. And that is just beautiful, man. The subtlety has been beyond the charts. There are so many small details, Christopher Nolan, when he it is, first of all, it is so unbelievable that he is the same guy who made The Dark Knight, and he is now writing a drama. And so when Telemetres, when he for the first time meets his father, they share a proper moment. There's nothing rushed there between Telemetres and the Odysseus. And later on, when Odysseus meets Penelope again, there is no rushing anywhere. It is a beautiful, they establish it properly. They are given proper time, and just beautiful, man, just beautiful. I did not like that much music of this film, but there is one soundtrack that I really loved, that plays when Odysseus and Penelope are talking to each other after he has returned for the first time, and Penelope doesn't even know that this, and he is telling all the things about all the kind of the horrors that he saw, all the war exploits that were done by him. He's talking about all that, and that emotional pain in him, and that at the same time that music behind. Oh my god, that was beautiful. That was beautiful. The things that Christopher Nolan decides to put in the movie and to not put in the movie, because the Odyssey is a big book. There are so many things that happen that I know that I don't even probably remember, because I read it like I read this book like in 2016, like 10 years ago, in the October or September of 2016. I don't even remember many of the things, like, but he, so that kind of like, that cutting of the script was so well done. He showed so much in 3 hours. You never, like, it's, the film space is like, it is even better than Inception or in all of his other movies. Like, the pacing of this film is much faster, like, and it's too fast actually. Sometimes you're like, oh my god, they are not giving us time to settle down, like, so that is another thing. But even with the flaws of this film, Christopher Nolan, he deserves a lot of respect, man. He deserves a lot of respect, like, oh my goodness, man. Even with all the issues, like, he was able to get, especially he was able to get Robert Pattinson to play the villain of the film. And Robert Pattinson, even with not a lot of screen time, nowhere as close to the Odysseus screen time, and probably his screen time was lesser than that of Himesh Patel, but he still stole the film. Like, his acting, his subtlety, my god, man. Robert Pattinson, you're a hero, man. Like, my goodness, man, he's a hero, man. I like the way he's like, in the end, at the end of the film, when the beggar wants to, when Robert Pattinson gets to know that the beggar wants to try his chance, and the way he smiles, it is such a beautiful acting, man. It is such a, like, the way he, and even in the start of the film when he's looking at Telemetros with, where as a, like, he is looking down on him, that this guy doesn't know how to fight, and he's beautiful, and and they had Mia Roth was given the, Mia Roth is there as a love interest of Robert Pattinson. Very beautiful twist, man. I love Mia Roth. She looks so beautiful, man. Amazing. What else does happen that was a little so many things that now you think, about the movie. The movie is in such a place, like, the Odyssey, even with its flaws, the movie is such a pure piece of art, a pure piece of literature. Like, when I was young, I read a book on literature, and I was thinking about it, that the greatest piece of literature is the one that makes you feel elevated, that gives you hope, that gives you inspiration. No matter the storyline, no matter the plot, no matter if it is grim or dark or if it is not dark, but the greatest films are those that give you, like, hope, that actually make you feel better, that you saw something really amazing. And and the Odyssey is like that. The Odyssey has that qualities, and it's beautiful, and it's really, man, like, all the praises to the filmmaker, man. All the praises to the great filmmaker. The there are some other details that I was thinking about, like, I don't want to, like, write down, like, when I'm watching a film, like, of that thing, and then talk about it, because that is just stupid. Like, you're having an experience, and you need to sit down, and then, so that's why, like, I sometimes remember something, and that's why I want to talk about it. Yes, so there is a scene where there are sirens, and Matt Damon is the one who's, like, the Odyssey, means Odysseus is the one who decides that I want to listen to the sirens, and of course Christopher Nolan asked him to act in a kind of a reckless way when he says that dialogue, and he does act like that, and it was just a beauty to watch, man. Yes. I already talked about how great Anne Hathaway was in this film, Mm. And as I was saying that in some moments this movie, Christopher Nolan has evolved so much as a filmmaker that this movie at different points of its time, it feels like, means you're watching some other masterpiece, like, not, you just don't feel like this is created by Christopher Nolan, like like when it is in the palace of the Odysseus, you feel like this is like a samurai drama of like Akira Kurosawa, like, the costumes, and they are talking about clothes, and they are like, there were all these like curtains and all these barriers in which Penelope sits, in a kind of a barrier, like between the suitors, and there's all this palace politics going on, and you feel like you're watching a samurai drama of Akira Kurosawa. So Christopher Nolan, like, he has evolved. Like, he is not just the same guy who's making the same type of movies. And of course, no great filmmaker is making the same type of movies. Like, you see the range in Steven Spielberg as well. Like, he makes Munich, he makes, E.T., he makes, like, you see this in everyone. You see this in Martin Scorsese also, that he makes Killers of the Flower Moon, he makes The Wolf of Wall Street, and now he's in another DiCaprio, like, kind of a thriller kind of a film. You've seen all the great filmmakers, not to say, but still, Christopher Nolan, I just did not expect that the guy who is making The Dark Knight will make me get all these emotions in a movie by the name of The Odyssey, like, and it just shows that he has evolved. He's a master artist. He sees so much films. He sees so many films, and he definitely gets inspired from them. So, like, for example, he, like I said about, like, like, one was the Akira Kurosawa, when he is on the island with Calypso, and and when he is on like different islands and different times, it feels like you're watching a David Lean film, like, like a landscape, shots, and beautiful, like, Mediterranean shots. It's so beautiful, man. It's like, the whole sea that he captures, like, it feels like that. There is a place where there's a music in which I think when he is going back from Calypso's island to his home, and the music is like that of the movie Avatar. Like, Ludwig Göransson helped Christopher Nolan in that, so you feel that vibe. So, like I said, right now, I already reminded you three filmmakers: David Lean, Akira Kurosawa, and the great like your James Cameron. And then when that scene comes, when he is talking to those ghosts, when he is in that, when all the dead people come back, you feel like you're watching a Robert Eggers movie. It's horrifying. It's a horror film, man. Unbelievable, man. Unbelievably beautiful. Like, so you see, like, beautiful, man. It was like he was prepared to put his best to work so far. He also has, like, if you see the ending of the film, when Robert Pattinson is fighting with Matt Damon, and there is that, the music and the building and the tension, it feels like